Mr. Alator. My name is Amberly Kirkpatrick, and I'm here today to present my informative speech. I'm representing Arkansas State University Beebe. Hello, everyone. My name is Amberly Kirkpatrick. I'm here today to inform you that ignoring God is not an option. Have you ever tried to ignore God? I know that I have, and that ended up being a completely humbling experience. Firstly, I learned that ignoring God is not an option. Secondly, I learned that if you do ignore God, He'll use a human or maybe even an animal to get your attention. And thirdly, why not just listen to God in the first place? Because He's going to make you share what you're supposed to share or do His plan anyway. So my experience started when we were on my church's mission trip to Guatemala City, Guatemala. We had been there for 10 days, and we had been going to schools all throughout the week, multiple times a day during the week. On Friday, God began to speak to me at a specific school. We get to the missionary's house on Friday night, and we're having sharing time after dinner. And God kept on telling me, you need to share what happened earlier today in the school. And I was like, nah, I'm good. Nobody else cares. It doesn't matter what happened to me. So we leave the missionary's house, and Saturday comes. And I just had this heavy burden on my shoulders. I feel like the whole world is on my shoulders. Well, we're riding up to one of the churches, and I tell one of the girls staying in my room with me, I just need to have some Jesus time tonight. Me and God just talking it out. Well, the day ends, and we get back to the hotel, and I start having my Jesus time. And he tells me that I need to journal everything that happened on Friday. And I was like, why do I need to journal, God? I've never journaled before. And so I just ignored it. Sunday comes, and we do all 3 services, and God really moves. We get to the missionary's house, and we eat dinner, and then we're having sharing time again. And God continues to tell me, you need to share. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. No one else cares. Well, then my heart begins to beat out of my chest, and I feel like I need to share, but I just continue to ignore it. Well, sharing time is about to close, and I'm like, yes, I've made it, without the guy telling me to speak. And then the missionary looks directly at me, and he says, what has God been telling you in the schools this week? So then I begin to share that God was telling me that I needed to pray for those kids for real. Not that I hadn't been praying, but because I had, but I hadn't been praying with a passion. So from that point on, I began to pray for those kids with a passion. I began to seek God on their behalf because I know they needed me and needed what I have because they're so less blessed compared to how blessed I am. It was at that point that God called me to work with children for the rest of my life. Well, it kind of reminds me of the story in Deuteronomy chapter 22, verses 21. And it's Balaam, and he's riding on a donkey, and the donkey tries to get his attention 3 times, but Balaam still ignores him. So an angel of the Lord appears to Balaam and says, why didn't you pay attention to what the donkey was telling you? I was trying to get you to do what I wanted you to do. So it kind of correlates back to what happened to me. I wanted to do what I wanted to do, not what God wanted me to do. So Balaam and I have both learned that ignoring God isn't an option. We've also learned that if we do try to ignore God, He'll send a human or maybe even an animal to get our attention. And thirdly, that God's plan is best. So if you ever think you want to ignore God, remember what happened to both Balaam and I. And remember that ignoring God is not an option, and that He will talk to you, maybe through a human or maybe even a donkey. And also, lastly, that God's plan is best for your life, so you need to pay attention. So if you ever decide to ignore God, just remember those stories and avoid ignoring God.